Welcome back, everyone, to the workshop. We're going to go into the annual plan now, and so the purpose of this is to run through, the team will talk through it, but we're going to get guidance today on what we want included and what we don't, so that we can land it for the F&P meeting next week. So I'll hand over to you and we'll go from there.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Look, a quick catch up on where we are. You've obviously seen the first presentation on the rates cap. The next set of items, firstly, is feedback from the 2 free range days and the choices you have around what you do with those, whether they proceed to the annual plan or not. We've got some savings options for you at the, I guess, corporate or strategic level. Then there's some analytical review savings, which are more operational level. There's a look ahead to potential savings for the LTP. Obviously, that's not going to be in next week's finance report, but it's a look ahead. And lastly, a discussion around the cathedral. So that's the rest of the afternoon. Right, so feedback from the free range days. This is only the stuff relevant to the annual plan. The LTP stuff has been corralled separately. It isn't forgotten. We are getting advice on it, but it's not for today. So, safe school crossing at South Hornby School. The recommendation here is that it doesn't impact on the annual plan, but the board to continue working on finalising the design. So what we're looking for here is this okay? Are you okay with the recommendation? Do we have a yes, or is there some other complexity around it?
Being the instigator of that one, happy to leave that with the board, community board to finalise that design. So, okay, recommendation accepted. Right, okay, thank you. If we're lucky, we can just crack on through these.
Is it, is the money there for the design phase of it? Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
So you happy, Mark? Yep, cool.
Okay, Hornby High, this is very much the same thing in that it probably doesn't impact on the plan, but the board needs to work through the interventions program, staff to look at solutions. If the solutions don't fit within the existing program, then consider through the LTP. So in other words, can we do it with what we've got? If not, then go to the LTP.
Mark, another one?
Mildly happy with that, but we need to make sure we can find a way to get it working in that program. We've got 1,000 students every day.
I understand.
Yep, it's a safety issue, big time.
In the program of works, these are scheduled, and so they're not pushing any other community boards hierarchy or whatever. So these are in tranche. They're given the tick, and it's all good. It doesn't affect anyone else's, because we just heard today that, you know, if we lower speed limits, suddenly your footpath drops in this priority. And yesterday I found out if we blacktop a road, suddenly that drops off because it's being blacktopped. The fact that the rest of the road's crap is irrelevant.
So this one is this one and the next one. It's the same conversation. Is they are not currently programmed, so we need to work with the community board to get them programmed as part of the minor safety interventions, and that will be a reprioritisation of that board for that board's area.
So the program we're talking about is the Hornby area, or their board's area.
Hornby
so that doesn't affect other boards' areas. It's totally separate. Yeah, that's all of it. Yep. Thank you.
Both this one and the next one, the schools have come to our board. Yeah. So you have to have a conversation at the board level.
So is that also the same for St Bernadette's?
Yeah, so long as these conversations happen and we can start to get some traction.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Can I just ask what the quantum of funding is for each community board for the minor safety improvements program?
It's a citywide budget.
No, well, it says to work through their currently agreed minor safety intervention program. So I'm just wondering how much budget do they have to prioritise with?
So Lynette, yeah, this is a very, I don't want to be pedantic, this is a very simple one that Mark's comfortable with. He proposed it. We're effectively saying no impact on the annual plan. Can we park this one and keep moving, and then we can come back with the more
Sure.
generic questions for the annual
But
plan.
I'm just, in terms of the response that was given, is that the board can reprioritise within the minor safety program. I'm just trying to understand what that budget.
It's a citywide budget.
So that's what I thought. So if the board reprioritises, then they're taking stuff off other areas.
No, they get their three that they push to the top.
Well, that's what I was trying to get clarity and just understand.
Yeah, nothing's changed, has it? Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll keep moving.
Okay. Older person advocate resource. Again, we could reprioritise existing resources rather than add an additional FTE. Recommendation that staff look at availability of existing resources and reprioritise.
Mel, are you comfortable with that? Cool. I've got a question from Aaron, and then we'll keep going.
Yeah, it was just one on if it's possible on the ones that Mark put up, not so much Melanie's because that's metro, but Mark's ones are local. Can we rate in a way that any councillor can put up anything in their ward? So, like, say there's the board priorities, the transport team go, look, here's our rankings, and this will get done in this period. But if a board goes or a local goes, no, we want a pedestrian crossing there that's $1 million next year, it can be rated in that area and just goes ahead. So the people of Hornby want 5 more crossings. They can get Can we do that?
I think we get expert advice. My initial would be no. I don't think we can rate by ward. Would that be correct?
So we could potentially, but not in an annual plan. It's a policy decision that would, for targeted rates,
Yes.
it would need to be an LTP. Okay.
It effectively would be a targeted rate.
That's fine.
Okay.
Good job coming up.
All right, let's keep moving. So Mel's one, we were fine. It's going to be done within existing budgets.
Okay, you may be aware there's a workshop planned for the 16th on the iconic buildings discussion. There's no need to really go into the detail here. That'll be revealed on the 16th. We happy to move on from there? Okay, reviewing the capital program. Now this has been quite a big thing right through the last few months of the year. There's a slide later on that quantifies all the detail, but I think you're aware of it, that PMO and Paul Dadson in particular have presented to you numbers already about an extensive redrafting, rephasing of the capital program down to a level we actually believe we can deliver. So what we're looking for there, and if you like, I can go to slide 26. I think that would be a good idea. Just flicking forward so you know what we're dealing with. I can't see what this. Okay,
what it looks like.
There. So capital program deliverability review.
Peter, we haven't got Tyrone online yet. Can we just
Come back to
skip this? Come back to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll circle back to capital program deliverability. Okay. 3 water capital program budget rephasing. I think this is very much the same. We've presented to you on the 13th a capital program to address deliverability, and again the recommendation, maybe you want to treat it the same way and circle back, but it's to bring it down to a level that we believe is actually concrete and deliverable.
I'm just trying to understand why this program isn't deliverable at the moment. Like, what's the bottleneck?
I think Gavin would be the correct person to address that. The reasons are almost certainly not simple and ones that I should do off the hip. It's a complex issue. There's different activities involved, different contracts, different outcomes. I think that's a very nuanced answer.
It's a lot easier to plan a deliverable program at an LTP because you do it over things. It's quite difficult for some projects if they're not in design or contract now to deliver them in the next year.
Right.
So deliverability is a much bigger issue, and you can get more precise in the annual plan and say if it's not at a certain stage now, we're not able to deliver it, or all our contractors are locked in, don't have capacity.
Is there going to be something that results from the F&P reporting around the increased inspections? Because one of the concerns was we actually don't have good data because we don't have sufficient budget to do inspections.
Oh, that's a different issue about deliverability of a capital program.
Okay, so let's keep going. Yep.
Okay.
My question was really around, are we actually delivering and able to deliver enough to actually meet our levels of service there, including we're really trying to reduce our leakage and making sure we've got the ability to implement or install the meters. Are we actually doing what we need to do?
Yes, Councillor. Short answer is yes, we do. Some of the deliverability was driven, and Paul could probably confirm this, it was driven by delays and things like that, so pushed out, we can't deliver a job if we haven't got everything over the line yet, but we will confirm that through in later sessions that we are still going to meet our levels of service.
Yeah, because that was just couched in my concern
Yeah.
was the amount that we've taken out of the capital program, knowing how much of that is
Yeah.
waters and how
Yeah.
important that
Can we
is to
confirm
people.
that
Yeah,
by the
we-
time the paper comes to F&P next week?
Sure.
Just to reassure
Thank you.
Councillor.
Cool. Okay, let's keep
Okay.
going.
Housing affordability, including first-time home ownership. It's a little bit repetitive, but no impact on annual plan recommended for LTP consultation, investigation, partnership. I mean, this is a large, complex issue. It's not something you can wrap up quickly. We're recommending that there be an integrated approach in the LTP.
Cool. And Daniel's got a question.
Oh, it's more sort of feedback. So, I mean, and there's the next few are also part of the same thing, right? It's all how we talk about housing.
Yep.
I would really push for us to have that question in the annual plan so that we have that information when we're making our initial draft long-term plan decisions.
Well, that's.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're suggesting here, that we go out in the annual plan and consult on the concept.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were suggesting that we wait until the LTP to
No,
then
no,
consult.
no.
Oh, great. Awesome. Perfect.
Include in the AP consultation what is the council's role, so we get to steer on what people.
I thought that only the part after recommendation was the recommendation, but I
So
see it's the whole
to be really
Got it.
clear, it won't be a proposal in the annual
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
It'll be consulted in the annual
Yeah,
plan.
great. No,
Is
I
that
support
what you're
that. That's
suggesting?
good. Yeah.
Cool. Yanni?
I think this may have got a little bit misconstrued, but I mean, I welcome us doing something on it. So the two things that, in terms of the GCP housing strategy, was inclusionary zoning and some sort of development levy. So I'm just trying to understand what, in terms of the consultation, with the scope of what we would look at, if those sorts of things would be included.
I think that'll come back.
Okay.
Okay, let's
And
keep
then the
going.
other thing was, I think the point I was making when we discussed this was the Housing Trust is doing the local members bill, but it doesn't talk about first-time home ownership. So it was kind of seeing whether there was a ability to look at, provide that feedback into that, because they're doing some really good stuff in that space. Yeah. So they're doing a local members bill, and it seemed odd that in their proposal it doesn't mention first-time home ownership, even though they're doing work in that space. Yeah.
We'll note
sure.
it and let
Okay.
David know.
Okay.
But in terms of the consultation, we would come back to you with the scope of that for the consultation document of the annual plan.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Good. Great. Keep going.
Again, this is deferring to the LTP. It's very similar. I'll give you a moment to digest that, I think.
This is just the same thing.
It's all the same?
So look, I
So
just-
you, right,
Should be consulted.
so you're comfortable? Okay. Same?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Would you call it more like early engagement through this?
Oh, sorry. Right. So just so we're clear, we're on the homelessness citywide strategy, and I've got a quick Tim and Yanni.
So just to clarify, you will be coming back to us with what we're going to be consulting on with all of this bundled together.
Yes, there'll be a proposal in the CD, a draft CD for you to consider.
Right, because I guess one of the questions for me would be, would Christchurch ratepayers be comfortable putting their rates outside of Christchurch to fund this in other regions? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So we've already made a decision in the annual plan to get a report. So when is that report coming back to us? Because that report was supposed to have options for funding, and for consultation.
So the team are coming back with the consultation question, so I'm not sure that there's anything else we can do on that now. So can we?
Sorry, so you're saying we're going to consult as part of that annual plan, even though we've just consulted and we've made a resolution based on submissions to get a report to council?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there is no budget impact. We're not going to spend an hour on it today. So can we keep moving?
Or can I just...
So
No, you
just to
can't.
be clear, we didn't consult on it in the last annual plan. It came up as an issue that you're concerned about and asked for some work to be done. And actually, since that time, it's got bigger, more complex, and we're now suggesting bundling up all the housing, homelessness, the different forms.
Yeah.
Should council be involved
Okay.
in housing, and what type of housing is
Yeah.
it going to be, and should it also be involved in homelessness, and consult on that in the annual plan, and then we will have time to
Right.
build it in,
Okay.
including all the rate impact and all the costs for the LTP, because it
Yeah.
is a significant change of policy and a significant financial commitment that would need to be in an LTP.
So just the one thing that, and I've circulated around the councillors, was the idea of the Downtown Emergency Services Centre, which I know we've got some land in Hereford Street, for example. So, like in terms of a tangible example of a project, is that going to be considered as part of this, or is that being done separately?
I think that's being done outside, but we can follow up and
Okay.
come back with what's happening with that Hereford
Yeah.
Street, because that paper, the presentation has come to council like that. I just
Yeah.
don't know where that's at, but we'll
Cool,
come back.
okay.
It's outside of the annual plan, so I'll
It's just
come
that
back.
potentially if we wanted to progress something there, it would be good to know what we'd need to do on the annual plan to do that,
I
if we
think it
need to
was
do
a-
something. Cool.
Partnership
Yep.
thing,
Aaron?
Yeah, just to work forward on this, I think one of the best things that Yanni could do is maybe use his own money to develop some housing for some of these people, and then learn from those experiences, bring it back to the table, and say, here are the barriers I hit when I was trying to develop and do these places, and this is why it did or didn't stack up. Because if he comes up with something really good that he's done himself, skin in the game, I'm happy to listen.
So let's keep going.
Littleton Museum.
Since he's been on such a big salary for so long, since he was a child.
Cheers, bro.
Let's keep going.
Okay. Staff recommend deferring the request from Littleton Museum to the LTP. It's not a council-owned entity, so it can't really be part of our capital program. It would actually be a grant. So they're recommending that we consider this in the LTP.
I'm looking
Yep.
at you.
Carry on.
Carry on. Cool. Okay, carry on. So carry on. As
That's a yes?
Yep.
yes.
Strengthening Communities Fund. This is from Councillor Coker and McDonald. It's funded via rates.
Yeah, just for the public record, we're suggesting different things. Yeah. And I was told that unless I can't remove the whole fund unless we go to an LTP. So. Yeah, giving them their own.
Teamwork
leaving them
makes the
with their own
dream
money,
work.
Yes. Okay, sorry. So, sorry, Pete.
So that's okay. The recommendation is consult on the council's preferred option to retain, which could be retain, increase or decrease.
So can I just, I know we discussed this and I can't quite remember what it is. Was this the idea that this would be a proposal or just a consultation?
If the council agrees to propose an increase, retain or decrease, that would go out for consultation.
As a proposal, as
As a
opposed to
proposal,
just seeking
yes.
reviews? Okay,
Yes.
yep. Couldn't remember, sorry.
And just leave it as it is.
Okay. Okay.
For this
Okay.
year. So.
So as is status quo is 2% increase.
It's baked
That's
in already.
in
isn't it?
the, baked in the LTP, yeah.
So
We'll save the question.
that's a yes on retain.
Just keep status quo. Status quo. Yeah. And hey, and Mel and I have just compromised in the public domain. So, yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
That's
Sold.
twice in
Okay.
a year. Didn't you agree on something in the last annual plan?
Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly there.
Nearly there. Diamond Harbour Dog Exercise Area. No impact on annual plan. Locations are being looked at. Consideration could be given to adding budget in the LTP. There's no actual site at the moment.
Well, I think there is a site to do.
Sorry,
to do
so there's no
something
funding.
temporary.
There's no funding.
Yeah, I mean, there's a site of council-owned land in Diamond Harbour that's currently earmarked for a multi-immersion school and a fire station, but the balance of the land should come up for public consultation. It's supposed to come up for consultation this year, hasn't done. I would like to see that made it into at least a temporary dog exercise area, or some part of it.
Whack a fence around it, basically. Like, yeah.
So Rupert, does Rupert do you
Because
Yeah.
the current arrangements have basically hamstrung the community from having their say on the balance of the land, and that's kind of, I just want to try and
Is that
expedite that.
something, and don't worry if you can't answer it now.
But that's only on the parts of the land that have been earmarked for negotiation with third parties, right? There is a balance of the land that is still under the council ownership.
Can I just be clarified? This could potentially be done outside
Yeah.
needing to add anything to an annual plan. So if we get a situation and find an area, Parks could actually develop it. It doesn't need anything.
I think there's a
built
medium-term
into annual
solution,
plan.
and a long-term solution can wait for the LTP, yeah.
Yeah. So it could be out of a
So we're good?
yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
As long as I get some feedback on that.
Yep, I think Phil's already drawing a map of the fencing.
Yeah.
He's already priced it. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, this one's kind of two things. There's the playground and the toilet block. It's possible to deliver the toilets at the same time as the playground, but doing so would mean reshuffling the program of work. So it is recommended that the playground should go ahead. However, the refurbishment, other than safety modifications, either for a later plan or for reprioritising and substitution by the board. Yes.
So just so I'm clear in my mind, to put toilets in within the existing budgets. But it'll be in your area. It's in there.
I guess that is the critical point, is that a few councillors have mentioned within the area.
Toilets are funded district-wide, and there's a prioritisation schedule, so it would mean if this one went up, another one goes down. And that's really the challenge, and it's done on a scale of need.
You're not going to fly.
The detail needs to be talked out within the community board.
Nathaniel had the first question.
Yes, I think we can, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this, because as far as the annual plan is concerned, I don't think we need anything in the annual plan on this. I have some, we talked about this before, I have some different ways that I want us to do things and figure it out as far as next steps for the playground and the toilets and stuff. But as far as this discussion about the annual plan, we can just, it's not in the annual plan. I'm happy.
Cool.
Yeah.
That means there are no other questions on it, and we'll move to the next slide.
Okay.
What's that? Oh, do we have? I just don't want to talk about a playground that's got no impact on the annual.
I'm not talking about the playground. So there were wider councillor questions within that workshop that we had, and I'm wondering when they're going to be coming up.
In terms of
for example, I was talking about referring to transport around optimisation of intersections, things like that.
Yeah, it's not in this workshop. Will come up for a separate one. There are sheets and sheets of information that we'll be getting that all back to councillors as well.
Because you're right, we talked about speeding up the getting the intersections with green lights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like and it's almost like, how do we get the easy stuff just done?
Yeah.
Yep. So that'll come back.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the
cool.
things that don't need to be built in today by the finance team ready for next week, because it will have to be finished tomorrow, will come back during the year.
So for consultative arrangements that we want to actually add into the annual plan, would that be through this workshop, or would that be through a separate one?
I don't think you'd be consulting on that. We'd need to do some work first and come up with a plan.
Because I thought something would be really beneficial is if we ask the public, because we have our own analysis,
our own evidence database analysis of the phasing with the lights. But there are some really big social pinch points for the public. And if you wanted to get more submitters to come in, then they would come in and talk about certain intersections that would be niggly to them.
Yeah, can we come back with some information? I don't think it's an annual plan topic, but it doesn't mean you can't consult on it.
Because it's around our level of service and which ones we want to
It's
prioritise.
around.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping we could actually do the work a lot quicker.
Yeah,
than 30 June.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. So
Okay.
the next-
but let's have a look. Yeah.
Yep.
Because
So-
some of it should be really simple.
Yeah.
Like it should just be literally rephase or
About changing the
chuck
way
in
we
the
do things without an annual plan.
yeah. Cool.
So just to finish that block of work, of all the issues you raised at Free Range Day, these are the ones that require annual plan work.
Yep.
There are operational things and LTP things that are not in today. Okay, if they can be sorted out as part of day-to-day business, they don't need a resolution in the annual plan. If they're LTP, they're not in here either. It doesn't mean we've forgotten either of those other sets.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not missing something, because so for the Waltham Playground one, that's basically what we're saying is that is really all LTP related, or at least it's not annual plan related, right?
It doesn't require resolution in the annual plan.
Yeah. So there was no. I just want to make sure I'm not. So there's nothing for us to decide on it actually at all, because it's nothing related to the annual plan. That's right. Yeah. I'm not good. Okay. Cool.
Okay. So now we move on to.
It's just that some of this that we're talking about that you brought up with the toilets, etc. The community board has a list of priorities, and that hasn't been discussed between us at the moment. So it may have dropped down, but that's not for this discussion because yes. So that's.
Yeah, so again, just to go back to the annual plan where we've already made decisions on stuff to happen, like a report on Pacific funding for SPAC Pack, are we going to get a report on that as part of consideration for the draft annual plan? Or is it like, do I need to start moving amendments now just to do it?
The information you asked for in your workshop, and as Peter said, these are the ones that need a resolution for the annual plan to be built into the budget. There's the other ones that are LTP matters and the others that are operational. You will get all those sheets with those details later this week. And we are just checking any outstanding resolutions from the annual plan. So
Right.
we'll let you know when you'll get the data back on those.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be helpful, like to flag like the vert ramp for the skateboarding, for example. We've agreed to do the feasibility study.
Okay, so we'll
But it'd be-
have a look and see
yeah.
what's outstanding and circulate that.
Yeah, because that came up before, so we can check councillor Hanson on that.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, right. So moving on from Free Range Day and all the feedback, we now have, if you like, a recipe we can build into Finance Committee's report for next week. Savings options, projected rates increases and potential savings. I think we need the finance team up at the table here to step through some of this stuff.
Good afternoon, councillors. So the slide in front of you outlines the changes to the annual plan that have been made so far. So at the end of last annual plan, we were projecting a 10.52% increase in the 26-27 financial year. In our initial annual plan build, we've reduced that by 1.3% down to 9.2%. You've previously received and given some feedback around the level of the CapEx deliverability review, which if incorporated reduces the rates increase to existing ratepayers to 8.5%. There are some other potential upcomings to consider, being the potential completion of the cathedral by unpausing the targeted rate, which would add roughly 0.1%. And in our previous annual plan, the 27-28 financial year had a balanced budget. Our updated projections are now showing that year is unbalanced, so we would potentially suggest increasing rates in that year to achieve a balanced budget. So at the moment, if those factors were to be incorporated, we're looking at a potential rates increase in the upcoming financial year to existing ratepayers of 8.6%, 9.4% the year following, and 5.6% the year after that.
Sorry, Tyrone's here, and we might go back into that capital slide. Sorry, I should have mentioned that before, but can we just whip back to just so we've locked in that feedback as well? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So do you want to, Pete? Do you want to talk to this one, or Paul? Whoever wants to talk through it, just so we can then get the guidance.
So
I
I might
go to slide 26.
Go forward to slide 26. So slide 26 is the slide here. So when the PMO team and Paul came, there was a resolution at the last annual plan that we would carry out a review on the deliverability and capital expenditure of the council's capital program for this upcoming financial year. So the team's gone away and done some work to identify an appropriate level of capital expenditure and an achievable level of deliverability. Based on our historic expenditure over the last couple of years, we've been expending around $490 million a year on CapEx in terms of actuals. And the current forecast for our current financial year is somewhere between $500 and $510 million. The original budget for this financial year upcoming was $778.8 million, taking into account carry forwards. With the team's review, they've reduced that number to $586.2 million in the upcoming financial year, noting that around $42 million of that is for the activated sludge project. That reduction falls across primarily 2 financial years due to the timing and phasing of interest expense and debt repayment for capital works. So it would reduce rates in the upcoming annual plan year by 0.71% and would also reduce rates in the following year by 0.89%. The outer years of the capital program have not been re-reviewed or updated for deliverability at this stage. That would come back as part of a larger set of works in the LTP, taking into account the financial strategy and infrastructure strategy.
And we've obviously workshopped this as well.
Yes.
Good. Tyler, I think you're the first. So just sorry before you do. So I've got it really clear in my mind. So we're at 580, but 45 of that. So 45 of that is sort of that external contract around the activated sludge.
That's
so
correct.
our core is 540, and I'm sure Tyrone will ask the question as well. It's 540. We can deliver 490 to 510. Why are we still at that number?
Over that period, we would expect there to be a level of inflation. We're essentially comparing a 2-year jump in our budget, or 1-year jump. If solely inflation was applied to the 24-25 actual delivery, you come to around a capital expenditure of $530 million. Okay. So it's getting to about that
plus
point.
This activated new year.
Correct.
Cool, Tyler.
I just have a question around the capital program at project level. Out of these changes, this is for Lynette, which are these Crown Council projects that we're cutting? So Kiwi Rail or NZTA co-funded?
My understanding is that no projects have been cut from the budget. Budgets have simply been rephased and aligned with deliverability and our expected capital expenditure.
Okay, so there's no timelines that we are required to have with the Crown if there is deferrals?
I'm unable to speak to that question, Councillor.
Okay. No, that's cool. That answers enough for me. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you. Sorry, I just wanted a little bit more further confirmation. I didn't quite understand the jump from 490 to 586. Just you said there was an inflation component.
There is an inflation component.
So as in like inflation, like the cost of goods and services,
Yes.
losing value or whatever. Yeah. So and that takes it to what? 530.
About 530. And then there's a one-off project for activated sludge of around $40 to $45 million.
Right, so 490 to 530, I mean, that's like a 10% inflation. So that's what we're picking.
Over 2 years, yes.
Right. And somehow we're going to squish in an extra project for activated sludge as well as do everything else that we say we're going to do there, all within a total, like is the ability of Christchurch Construction to supply or our ability to get market share going to increase by another 10%, and how are we going to do that? Like, I don't get it. Like, because the overall construction sector in Christchurch is probably not going to grow by 10%.
The activated sludge is under contract. So if you take the activated sludge, a bit like we did with Te Kaha, out, you've got a core program of about 540. And
so that's
we
cool. But are they going to get like workers from out of town to do it?
It's under contract.
Yeah.
So it's underway.
Something else is going to give. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but anyway, that's fine.
So I think we're there. So.
Just briefly recap, our current model position for the upcoming annual plan is 8.5%, with some potential add-ons, could be around 8.6%. So that 8.5%, what's driven the increase in the rates? Inflation is the largest component, driving 2.96% of the rates increase, which is made up of an OPEX increase in inflation of 3.1% and a CAPEX increase of around 3.4%. We're currently increasing our rating for renewals in line with our financial strategy to achieve full rating for renewals by 2032. That's accounting for 2.78% of the rates increase. The capital program is contributing 2.12%. That is a mix of last year's capital program and this year's capital program, being the timing of when the debt repayment and interest expense is incurred by council. In the last annual plan, we used savings at the surplus from the 24-25 financial year. Because that was a one-off saving, it results in an increase in the rates in this upcoming financial annual plan. Te Kaha is contributing a 1% increase to rates. That's once again driven by the capital expenditure last year and in the upcoming year, which is much smaller. That's due to the timing of debt repayment and interest expense. During the LTP, the council resolved to increase rates by 0.25% to apply to a climate resilience fund. Operational expenditure has been reduced slightly, and we have other savings in the corporate area around subvention receipts, dividends, timing of on-lending interest and debt repayment, and we are expecting around 1% rating growth in the base, which brings us to our 8.51% rates increase to existing ratepayers. So when we've prepared the annual plan, we've already incorporated some savings options. In the last annual plan, we were requested to also carry out a review of potential savings options, and many of them were multi-year savings. So we produced around $4.68 million of savings in insurance due to staff meeting with brokers and freeing up additional availability for the council. We reviewed our electricity contract pricing, which produced around a $3 million savings. We updated and reviewed our resource recovery and waste management budgets. We identified additional subvention receipts that the council was likely to receive. We looked to rationalise vehicle usage, identified some savings in consultants and a few minor FTEs. We also had a capital deliverability last year, which has produced savings to this year due to the timing of debt repayment and interest expense. So all up, in the last annual plan, we identified $24.6 million of savings, which have already been incorporated into this annual plan. When we did the initial build of the current annual plan, we identified some additional savings. Once again, insurance was identified as an ongoing saving, so we've updated those assumptions. The Burwood landfill consent was extended, which generates additional revenue for council. And we re-reviewed and updated our subvention receipts forecast. So that has resulted in an additional $10 million of savings, which has already been built into our current annual plan projections. We also went away and looked for other savings to present to council to allow them to make a decision. I'd just like to ask Matt Pratt if he's able to come up.
Thank you. Some of these savings you've already discussed in this workshop, so we'll get to those and highlight them when we get there. The first saving for consideration is around the capital programme delivery, which you've already discussed. So that's the detail, so we'll move on from that one. And then there's potential for a saving around grant funding review. You've discussed the first point, potential saving that we looked at. That was around removing the inflation adjustment for Strengthening Communities Fund. I think what you said earlier, if I heard, status quo. So that option is agreed. The other two parts to consider for savings, there's a $300,000 increase to the Environmental Partnership Fund scheduled for this year. You could not do that, pause it, and then that would provide a saving. The other thing that you could consider is applying a pro rata reduction across all contestable grants. And the example that we've put up on the screen is a 5% pro rata.
So that number, 72.39 million, is that what we give out every year in grants? Up the top.
72.39, yes, that is correct. That's the total amount of grants. That includes both OPEX funded grants and...
So twice as much as we spend on roads?
The amount for roads is a net figure, so takes into account the NZTA OPEX subsidy that we receive. But yes, that $72.4 million is the amount we spend on grants. It also includes statutory grants, such as the museum that we're legally obligated to provide.
Right, I wonder what was pushing it up. Yeah, okay. It would be, I mean, I think it'd be, Sam, I think it'd be a worthwhile question in the annual plan document to ask the public whether we should be giving out $72.39 million in grants a year.
I want to review that. This is the opposite to what we suggested.
Well, just if the...
So hang on.
But the public might be okay with it and not say anything.
Yeah.
But
So we've got questions, so we'll go Tyler, then Pauline.
Hey, Matt. I asked this for other annual plans, but do we have a scope on the ROI on the grants that we give out in regards to the things that we receive from giving out these grants?
We measure it in different ways for different grants. So something like the Strengthening Communities Fund, the return of investment is looked back at the amount of extra volunteer hours that we would get back, so the amount that can be delivered to the community. Other grants included in the $72 million would be for things like Christchurch, New Zealand, or the Canterbury Museum Trust.
Okay, so if Councillor Kewen did manage to find his way to get that into the consultation document, I would like to look at the ROI based on the grants that we give out to make sure that we're getting all of the information that's required.
Yeah, well, I was going to actually say, I think some of these are 12 to 1. We know that. So the thing is that if we were to reduce some of the environmental funds here, you're interfering with their programs, and we risk that work actually going backwards. You have to keep, this is my view, I'm just saying, so I don't support reducing those at all from what we had in the LTP, because there was a reason for that, and the success of these programs indicated to us that it's really important we get behind these and do this work. A lot of it's on the Port Hills, a lot of it's around our waterways, and they all involve and are actually pivotal to having hundreds and thousands of volunteers that are doing this work for our city. And I think it would be a tragedy to reduce these, so that's my view.
Thank you. Some of the work done by some other groups is for the Environmental Partnership Fund actually do work on council land, basically at a pittance, whereas if we had to pay for rangers to do it, it would cost us a fortune. So, you know, hey? No, it's up on the hills. It's not in the parks, it's up on the hills.
Could we look at, instead of annual grants, looking at 3-year grants? So we've done that with a few things, because a business plan, like for arts, for instance, we've really never been in sync with their workload, because when we give an amount of money, or they give them their grant, they've already had to plan for the year, so it's all kind of out the window in a sense. But if we did a 3-year grant for almost everybody, you'd hope that it would cut down our staff workload, but would also be in line with the principles of a 5-year business plan.
These are multi-year, aren't they?
Yeah. Hang on, Pauline. So, is there anything you want to add to that?
That's something that council could consider for the future, and we could do the work on that.
I've just got one. So I flicked through a query the other day around the grants funding and the rolled over and unspent balances, and the heritage incentive grants. So there's 250 grand that was carried forward. I didn't even know we still had that fund. Like, is there a way we could look at stopping that? Yeah, so there's still 250 in there from last year, and the heritage incentive grants. Yeah, so it'd be good to see whether we could do something with that, just you know, it's if we didn't spend it all. Same with the red zone grants. There was another 260. Hang on, guys. Guys, can we? I do get to have my turn as well, even though I'm true. The red zone grants, there was still 260 grand not spent at the end of the financial year as well. So again, it'd be just good to look at and understand, you know, normally if we're, you know, if we don't want to get in the habit of rolling grants forward if they're not needed, we'd much rather not take the cost to the, well, I would much rather not take the cost to the ratepayer. Okay, so what do you need from us here?
I suppose there's two parts.
We've looked at, so Mel and I have agreed on the Strengthening Communities Fund, which is not to touch that. So the two are...
The two below.
The two below. Have we got the voting app?
We want guidance.
Oh, so Yanni's got a question. I just feel like it'll be quite evenly split.
So in terms of that 72 million, I mean, that includes the museum funding, and we've got a levy. Are we expecting an increase to the levy? And if so, what is it? And is that something that we need to be mindful of?
It will be built in. So, so I think what the staff are asking you is not to concentrate on the 72.39 because we haven't given you enough information of the breakdown of that now.
Okay.
It's just to actually concentrate on those last two, because I think we've already got guidance about that first one. The last two, pausing the environmental one and the pro rata across contestable funds of 5%, which would be apart from strengthening communities. So if you could just concentrate on those two, because those are the only two you've got the sufficient information in front of you.
The contestable grants, so it doesn't include strengthening communities, that's still quite a significant reduction, and I'm surprised because I don't know what it would be taking off to get to that quantum. So
Does it include community board?
yeah, I personally feel like we need more information, like to the point that Sam raised. If we've got these other things that are being carried forward because they're not being allocated, or maybe they're tagged and not spent.
Okay. So the contestable one, because that probably does include strengthening communities, does it? You probably haven't got information. So the only one we can really get guidance on today is the Environmental Partnership Fund increase.
Okay. Well,
and we could come back with revised one for that bottom one, the contestable funds, which ones they are and how much it would be worth for the meeting.
So we're just having questions on the Environmental Partnership Fund now.
Well, I mean, I don't support reducing it, but I would support looking at those other grants that you mentioned.
So when you say it's not reducing it, it's saying not increasing.
It's not increasing it.
Not increasing it, keeping it at that level and not increasing
So
it.
there's still funding in that pot, yeah. Okay, so Tyler's got a question. I think Victoria had a question.
Just a process question. This, I'm not clear on what the steer actually means. Does that mean that you continue doing work on it and then it goes to a decision at a meeting?
Yeah, you go.
So if we've got a clear steer like we have had on a number of things, the team will build it into the report and build it into the budget.
Yeah, so then we have to take it out in the meeting.
If we voted on it and got a different direction to be built in, we'd have to take it out.
Yeah.
So for the ones that are split,
which is fine.
Could they be separate within the draft annual plan?
Of making a decision on next week, yes. As
Because
long as
I
the
do think that
decision's
these will be
made next week. So if there's things that aren't clear, we'll get you to vote on it next week. But it really needs to be firm next week so the team can build it in over the Christmas period. The finance team need to build up the budget over that Christmas period.
There is a significant risk in the Melton in the way that that's done. So for the contentious ones, I'd really like to separate some of these.
Okay, so we've got Victoria and then Kelly.
Thank you. We've been talking about the 300k increase. The increase aside, is the Environmental Partnership Fund inflation adjusted year on year? No. And how much is it? How much allowance is already there? So if you were to take away the 300k increase, what's the sum that we're talking about per annum?
The budget for the current year is $700,000.
And can anyone remind us on what it was that drove the decision to increase it by 300k, just as a reminder, because I can't remember.
I believe it was an LTP decision. There was a phased increase to the budget over time.
Was it a trade-off instead of building in an inflation adjustment? I can't recall the negotiation.
Because the benefit was so massive, and all the groups needed more money to deliver their projects, so that's why we moved it.
I've got Kelly and then I've got Mel.
Yeah, I'm just a little surprised that in such a large pool of money, $72 million, that we only have sort of three small options in terms of grant funding. Because it seems to me, you know, if this was a house, we're having problems with the mortgage and we're arguing over buying a cheaper toothbrush, as somebody said to me. So I guess my question is...
Yeah. So Kelly, just to remind you that this has been up before and this is what we got. So there was a reluctance to reduce it anymore. So these are the three that were still being considered by the table. So it's not that the staff just haven't put anything else up. They have, and it hasn't got traction. So we're now down at this stage.
The other consideration is...
Hang on, guys, can we just hear from Mitchell?
The other consideration that is around $16 million of the grants is for the economic delivery activity. There's also around $5 million that's for the Capital Endowment Fund, and around $9 million that's for the Christchurch Museum as a statutory levy. So that does take a decent chunk of it.
All right, Pauline. We get everyone's passion about it all.
So we'll bring this one back because there's not a clear direction for a voted on decision next week.
It'll come back next week.
Hang on, we've got clear direction on all of them except the environmental partnership fund, as far as I'm concerned. And have we had the view of everyone around the table?
Is this your...
The last two. So
are you chairing it now? Is that how it's working?
So we're bringing it back next week.
Clear direction.
Have I left the meeting? Don't know what's happened there. We've literally... well, you wouldn't believe it. What we've got is Mel and I have agreed on the first one, which is that won't change. Mary said they need more information on the third one, and the environmental one that we've spent the last 20 minutes on, we're gonna have to bring back next week. Yeah. I mean, that all we're doing on next week is giving some guidance to try and land something in February. So there will still be changes. It isn't the end today. Yep. Okay. Can we keep moving? So bring that back next week, please.
The next option that we've got up is around the Capital Endowment Fund. There is surplus fund. The Capital Endowment Fund's got $1.5 million of unallocated funds that will carry forward through till next financial year. We're suggesting that the surplus funds get applied to an eligible OPEX project, which would mean that you wouldn't need to rate for that OPEX project.
With that? Cool. And the urban development, we've already done that to death.
We've traversed that one.
The only question I had, and it'd be good to just get it picked up, is what's happened with the balance for this year of that money?
So that will come in this year. It doesn't need to be. It's not an annual plan issue. It'll be a saving in this year's budget when and if it transfers over. When? I was just saying if it's this year, but as expected this year. Okay, so it'll be a saving for in the budget this year,
so
but it's not an issue for the annual plan.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Everyone come. Andre?
Is this not making our job harder for the long-term plan when we're getting closer to a rates cap? I'm struggling to see the logic in it, the capital endowment one. Yeah. Like, I'd sooner be reducing grants than making our job even harder next year. Yeah, sure, yeah. But like, of all the years to shuffle things back to the next year, this seems like probably the worst one so far. I would have thought to be doing kinds of that. But
so what are you suggesting? Just so
well, I mean, my thinking when we had that the other day was the last thing we should be doing is a sort of a bottom line. It's not shuffling things this year to next year, because next year we're having to do a rates cap, OPEX deep dive, and everything else.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be pretty hard. And if we've made our job a little bit harder to make it better by 0.18 this year, like I'm just struggling to see the logic. If
just so I've got it, sorry, just so I've got it clear in my mind, you're just saying we just keep it, so don't do it.
Well, we're going to regret it next year.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried. It's just more so we got something.
Well, that's my feeling.
Yeah.
Do it
in the year we have to do that, right?
So has that got lots of?
Well, yeah, I don't support that, but what? Because it's still taking money off people. It's still taking money off the public. Yeah. But if the majority is to do it, then we can. Or, Aaron?
Yeah, only because I asked it last time, and will we get a briefing at some point on the urban development, on how much has been spent since we started doing it 12 odd years ago, and what projects it delivered?
Yes, and
because when
again,
we talk
yes, we will. That's outside the annual plan discussion, but we will bring and we'll get both
even if it's a short one. This was the amount spent per year.
Christchurch NZ to come
delivered.
back with our team and do it as a joint presentation. Yep.
Okay, so urban development, we all seem comfortable. The capital endowment, do we want to? What's the feel? So can we just vote on it next year?
Like, we're looking at even worse rates increase already next year, and we're all setting it up to be even higher.
Tim?
It'd be good to know the effects of the Capital Endowment Fund and who benefited from it, etc. Because if we cut it or pull it back, we need to know the consequences. Because if you remember way back when RATA changed its funding, whilst they said they went out and consulted and told everyone, a lot of those groups were absolutely struck by it, blindsided by it. So I don't want us to be in that situation. So I think it'd be good to have an understanding of who benefited and etc. Because it is odd to have so much money left over. And so.
Okay, so it sounds like the general feel for the first one is to keep it in, keep it, not reduce it. So we'll go for that for next week, and then the urban development will take that. So let's go with that, and we'll note that down. Yeah. Okay, can we move forward, please?
The next option was around the Climate Resilience Fund. You heard earlier, Council established a Climate Resilience Fund, and there's a 0.25% annual increase in rates from 25-26, we're suggesting that given the uncertainty around local government reforms, consideration should be given to pausing further rates collections for the fund until reform direction is known. The reality is that boundaries may change for local government. We may be collecting a rate from people who won't benefit from the services. It would be administratively difficult to return it, so the recommendation is to pause.
I just want to talk about the administrative difficulties around the allotment of those funds. And obviously you're saying that the CRF is going to be paid for by Christchurch City ratepayers. If we go into a super city or a unitary, then those other ratepayers may benefit in 30 years' time of around $4 million. Is that what we're saying?
Or if boundaries change the other way.
We could have some of our ratepayers paying into the fund and then no longer being in Christchurch City Council, Unitary Authority, or whatever Christchurch City. Or
But it's $4 million out of the potential of hundreds in 30 years' time when we can take from it. Sort of doesn't make sense to me. It's sort of like a 5 cents to $1 sort of thing around what we need to pay back the Christchurch City ratepayer. I'm not saying go either way or other, but it sort of doesn't make sense in that regard. I did want to ask around the alternatives in terms of backfilling that CRF if, for example, we become a unitary or super city. In terms of the restructure, we don't know much yet. But how is the wider pool of funds going to look if we do go into the unitary or super city? Because we don't know that yet. Is that correct? Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
This proposal is only pausing it, isn't it? It's not stopping it. Is that right? Yeah, pausing.
And interest accrues from what it looks like in the financial years. Is that what I'm saying?
No, we would be pausing the increase. So the original Climate Resilience Fund is a 0.25% increase in rates each year.
Yep.
The initial option there is to pause the increase, so we would continue to rate at the level that we are currently rating in this 25-26 financial year. So it would avoid the rates increase, however we would still be bringing some funding in to the Climate Resilience Fund.
But you're still forecasting that there will be an interest that is going to be building up over the 27
Correct.
and 28 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so it's pausing the increase.
It's pausing the increase.
Yes.
Not the fund. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Is everyone kind of generally comfortable with pausing the increase? Yeah, and you go next. And then I've got Nathaniel.
I'm not really, just for the same reason as the prior option about protecting our income. I mean, with a rates cap coming, we're looking at a perpetual freezing of incomes for the organisation, which over time will see rates get very, 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 very affordable. So I think giving ourselves a little buffer is not the end of the world. And in that cap, I actually don't think this is the best way to. I would have preferred just targeting debt as opposed to building up a fund. So I would wholeheartedly supporting getting rid of it at some stage. But sorry, I'm losing my voice. But
No,
not.
when you were saying you're getting rid of something, you can as long as you want.
I would wholeheartedly support getting rid of it in the future, but not this year, and not doing anything different.
So what about if we pause the increase?
Even
and
pausing
then
the increase.
But then, so here now, pause the increase, and then get rid of it at the LTP. So that, because that picks up Andre's point, which is we're not doing the.
Yeah. I don't have the numbers. I just think we should continue to do what we were always going to do with the Climate Resilience Fund, and not pause the increase until we get rid of it. Yep.
So you're not.
And then Tim.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was this was something that was consulted on in the last LTP. That money was collected in the last year from ratepayers on the understanding that it would be used for building a fund, to creating a long-term fund for our city that was, going to be not for us, but going to be for our children, for disasters that occur. I really think we can, at the moment, we're still able to, at the moment we can still collect that money for that very important purpose we have, and I think we should definitely do that. And that last option there is basically debt funding rates reduction. So it's basically people in 30 years are going to be paying off a rates cut that we're giving this year, which to me seems completely absurd. So I personally, I would also be in the category of let's just keep what we agreed and what was agreed in the LTP last time, that we could just continue to build up this fund for the future because we're going to need it.
Can we, and I've got Tim and Celeste, but before that, can you just, and I don't want to put you on the spot, can you just explain, just so everyone's clear, this isn't a fund where the money is held in a fund that goes up based off equities or returns. This is an accounting ledger.
That's correct. The
So
funding
it's not
is
a true climate fund.
No.
Just so everyone's clear. Yeah.
The funding is not held in a bank account or anything like that. We note it in our general ledger on our balance sheet. We then note its nominal value, which we then calculate an interest that it is earning. It is cheaper for the council to utilise those funds to reduce the amount of borrowing that we have to undertake. So essentially the amount we save by using it as part of our working capital is greater than the interest that we would be paying into the account.
It's effectively subsidising. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a floating mortgage. Okay. Tim?
It'd be good to understand with regards to anything to do, as we're looking for different things with, climate resilience, etc., with the Port Hills and the nervousness around the community around possible fires, etc. But we're looking at everything. So what are we doing? Because if this isn't doing that, because people think that it is actually doing that, so we would be better off putting money directly to that, as in putting tanks of water along the road. Yeah. So it'd be good to explain to the public what this is doing, because it's not doing what I think a lot of people think it's meant to be doing. So yeah.
Celeste online.
Thanks, Sam. From memory, what was the consultation feedback on that? I think it was about 67% were in favour. Do we have any information around that?
What more information? Sorry, what other information are you wanting?
Well, my understanding is that Councillor Donovan's asking if we can recall what the consultation feedback was in terms of percentage breakdown. And sorry, I don't know, but we could. So
yeah,
Councillor Donovan said that she thinks it's 67. But you're not certain, are you, Councillor Donovan? We can come back and advise.
No,
it's not a figure. It's not a figure to hand, but we can go look for it.
Yeah,
that'd be great, because I recall that this was one of the most popular items in that feedback, and I think it was higher than actually funding for events. So this shows that there is a lot of support there, and so I wouldn't support pausing that. I just had a point of clarification around the urban regen. Can you just go back to that slide?
You've been on. Oh, have you not been online?
I had.
Oh, we're on this. Oh no, we're not.
Yeah, sorry. So just continue the function with the existing budget. Does the existing budget? I know we'd covered this last time. Just want to make sure we've got that clear. Is that looking at up to 1.8 on top of the existing council budget?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
That's what it says. Up to.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Sam.
So the next set of savings is following an analytical review of the council budgets. So when we prepare the annual plans and LTPs, council staff carry out regular reviews of the budgets to ensure that actual results or any savings that are being materialised within the current financial year are incorporated into the upcoming budget. So we test our assumptions and ensure that they're still reasonable based on the actual information that's coming through. FY 24-25 had one of the most significant operational cash surpluses the council has seen at $47.5 million. And while we try to incorporate as much of that as possible into the 25-26 annual plan, the full financial result was not known at that point in time. So now that we have a complete audited FY 24-25 position, we've gone through to ensure that the budgets for the upcoming annual plan are consistent with the previous results. As part of that line-by-line exercise, we have identified OPEX savings and additional revenues of $6.3 million, which can be incorporated into the annual plan. In terms of how that's incorporated, there's two key options, being a rates reduction. These savings are permanent, so that would apply a permanent rates saving. The other option is to reduce debt. By reducing debt, there would be no rate saving in the current financial year. However, over the remaining period of the LTP, the council would save $15.4 million in debt repayment and interest expense, which in the upcoming rates capping world could be applied to the core services and activities. It would also allow the council, based on our current projections, to achieve a balanced budget in year 2, which was the position in the previous annual plan, without any increase in rates in the upcoming financial year.
Okay, so anyone got any questions on this? No?
So we would...
Great, so we're good with rates reduction?
I'm for the debt reduction, personally.
So I think just to bring it next week.
I think someone campaigned.
Well, unless I mean, what's the view? Do people want the rates reduction or the debt reduction? Yeah, okay, we have to vote on it next week. Yeah, not if we keep borrowing.
I think it just got skipped over. Right, I'm afraid I missed it. Sorry. Earlier we were talking about the subvention receipts, and so that was half and half, right? We were going to do. We were all half and half of the subvention receipts. That's or is that something we're going to?
It's different at the end of the year, Mitch.
So the subvention receipts that you saw earlier in the presentation are the updated forecasts that we've received from our subsidiaries. So the standard approach that council has taken in the past is that subvention receipts, when they're forecast for an upcoming annual plan, are incorporated into the budget as a rates reduction, essentially like an additional dividend. If additional subvention receipts are received within the current financial year, then we bring that to council as part of our F&P report around the use of surplus, in which case the council can make a call as to whether that's applied to debt reduction or a rates reduction in the subsequent financial year.
So the current financial year subventions that are by default applied as rates reduction.
That is correct.
Is that was a policy that we agreed on as a council, or is that sort of out of our hands? Is that a decision we can give you a steer on? I guess that's what I'm asking.
You could provide a steer if we were to remove it and shift it to debt reduction. At this point, the rates would increase as a result, as they've already been applied to a rates reduction.
Yeah, well, I'll just say it because that's what we're doing here, I suppose. The steer I'd want to give is that all subvention is split 50-50, rates and debt reduction.
Cool. Good feedback. So this one feels like we need to vote on it next week, and we'll just do it formally. potential LTP
We
savings?
also have a series of potential savings that can have additional work done or be brought back for the LTP.
So this slide is just to signal where we're looking for potential LTP savings. Some of them aren't savings, but are revenue generation, which obviously has an impact. So there's an organisation-wide review to identify revenue generation opportunities from council-owned land and buildings, which is underway. We'll come back to you with more information. There will be a full review of levels of service for the LTP. There's obviously investigation underway around unitary authority status as a strategic option for local government reform. There's a potential savings from the investment in digital transformation programme, and then there's an ongoing review of procurement consultant engagement and service delivery to identify efficiencies and most notably cost avoidance opportunities.
Aaron's got a question there.
Yeah, so just on the increasing revenues, there's some opportunities, in the inner city. How would we get them factored in? Like, there's a lot of places where we could take out some yellow lines, put back in parking, and have charged parking on those sites. So increasing the availability of parking in town, and also pushing out some of our charged areas, whether they're at the same rate or a lower rate. But, you know, it makes no sense that we're charging inside Hagley Park to stop people parking there free, but there's 2-3 blocks that you walk past that's free on street parking between town and there, and it's just for the ones that get in early enough. But they could all be.
So they'll all be coming back in the LTP in the fees and charges schedule that will be reviewed for the
LTP?
P. Yeah.
Oh, the parking one I'd like to do, especially the one that introduces more paid parking, like just the next street over here. There's a massive yellow line down in front of PwC for just no purpose. There's no traffic. People do a massive 22k an hour down there.
We couldn't do that in time for the annual plan proposal, but we could try and do it during the annual plan year.
Yeah,
But we couldn't.
okay.
We couldn't because we've got to get it signed off in January. We couldn't have done that working plan.
No,
but
that's
look,
good. Would that wouldn't trigger consultation anyway, would it? If we're just going to add in a whole lot of parking spaces. Yeah, because in the olden days, you could park your car up to nearly every single corner. Every street was full of parking from corner to corner, except for the 6 metres. And there was heaps. Okay. No Melanie.
Hang on, guys. So Tyler's got a question.
I think that revenue generating one was one of my long-term plan amendments. I just wanted to ask a question around government policy and the way that we can generate revenue. Can that be included in the way and presentation that we get from staff? Because there'll be commercial opportunities, obviously, and then there's obviously local government act mandates for future long-term plan stuff. Yep, thanks.
So next up is the Christchurch Cathedral. So last year, due to the stop works on the Christchurch Cathedral, it was decided to pause the targeted rate that we had for the 25-26 annual plan. Now that pause has been carried over currently to the 26-27 annual plan that we're working on. CCRL have advised they wish to recommence works on the cathedral from 1 July 2026, so the upcoming annual plan. We still, to meet the funding requirements of the original agreement, we still need to collect around $1.8 million, which would need to be over the next 2 years if we decided to reinstate the special cathedral targeted rate. The rate was originally $6.52, including GST, which, if was to be reinstated, would increase rates by $1.12 million or 0.13%. We would appreciate your steer as to whether you would like that incorporated into this current annual plan.
Okay, I've got Andre first.
Thank you. The recommencement of works, am I correct in understanding that is dependent on them funding the current shortfall, right? Which would need to be found within a...
Correct.
Very, very soon.
Correct.
Which would make that date an impossibility? Unless funding showed up by Christmas. Like, I'm just not...
No, I know what you mean. I'm just wondering, is there a way forward that instead of having this in the... Because it's so basically there's 1.8 million left to get that to where it needs to be. Is that what you're saying? Could we not just at the end of June just use some of the surplus at 30 June rather than having it in the annual plan? Because then we're not putting back in another targeted rate. We're just going, but the legal advice, we don't have an option.
So you're
We've got to fund it.
Rather than do a direct or targeted rate for it, just use surplus of ratepayer funding. Money unspent.
Yeah, it's just like an easy, because it's got to be topped up, and it just effectively would become an accounting thing at the end of the year. I think then it avoids the annual plan. We don't want to dominate the annual plan with the cathedral, when we have legal obligations that we have to fund. That we don't have an option. Like legally, we do not have an option. So yeah.
Why don't we, because we don't have sufficient information, we'll come back with some information.
Yep.
We either in time for the annual plan, if it needs to be done in the annual plan, but otherwise later. It could be in the new year for the annual plan.
Cool. Okay, Pauline.
I agree with that. I think where Andre was coming from was the timing for this. Does it have to be in this year? Could we spread it over a couple of years? Even three?
That will come back in the information.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What do we got next? Next steps.
Okay, thanks guys. Right, we're in the wind-up now. Look, this has been very much a dry run for next week's F&P. I think we have a good steer on most things. There's a few items to go up for debate next week. So, tomorrow we finish the report for F&P. There's the revaluation workshop, which may have a bearing on some matters. 17th, we have the Finance and Performance Committee, but it's where those issues that you need to vote on, we'll need clarification there so we can go away and build the thing over the break. As discussed in the past, at the end of January, there's another free range day. It's not for the annual plan, it's to consider the letter of expectation for the LTP, because we are looking to start the LTP process more or less as soon as the annual plan's out the door. So free range day, 29th of January for the letter of expectation. ARMC goes through their oversight of the annual plan. 10th of February, all things being equal, all things in a fair breeze, we adopt a draft annual plan based on your feedback from next week's F&P. In answer to Councillor Donovan's question earlier, the support was 59% in support, 27 opposed and 14 didn't know. This was about the Climate Fund. 59 in support, 27 opposed, 14 didn't know. So, look, that's, unless there are any questions, that's the process that gets us to a draft annual plan.
Are there any questions on this? So really there'll be a few things that we need to work through next week, and then we'll go from there. Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
You happy? Thank you. That's great. We're all closed up. Done.